Thank you, Mr. President, for insightful words. I would like to start our discussion with the first question. You mentioned Putin's quote that he called Europeans weak. So my first question would be, as long as we are at university, what universities can do to make sure that Putin can no longer say that Europeans are weak?
Sorry, can you... Is it working? Okay. Can you repeat? I didn't get...
Yeah, my question would be the role of universities. Now, when you mentioned that Putin believed that Europeans are weak, what universities should do to make sure that he never thinks that again, that he thinks that we are strong?
It's a bit difficult to hear because you hear better from, from the loudspeakers. Well, like I said, I think that everything starts from individuals, how we feel, what things we consider being important. And if there's a mindset, change in mindset or mindset that we all consider that it's important to understand that security is foundation of everything, that helps also to do decisions, because I have strong belief in democracy. What people want, that happens. But if people don't want, it's difficult to do anything.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And to further proceed with our discussion, I would like to ask two more people to join. So let us all welcome Vice Minister of National Defense of the Republic of Lithuania, Tomas Godliauskas. And a young challenger and research analyst at Vytautas Magnus University Sakharov Research Center for Democratic Development, Maka Berulava. At our university, we have a strong belief in Socratic method when we challenge opinions in order to foster critical thinking. So now we will switch to that genre, and I will be very glad to give a word to our young challenger, research analyst, and actually a student at Vytautas Magnus University who studies future media and journalism, Maka Berulava, to continue challenging our opinions and looking into the situation. So thank you, Maka.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a huge privilege to sit here with you. I will have first question to you, Mr. President. So you mentioned that security is at the same time the common good and the common responsibility. So my question would be, you wrote in the report that preparedness is a common responsibility too. But crises often hit vulnerable communities and hardest. They hit hardest. So how can the European Union's resilience agenda ensure social fairness so that resilience doesn't become something that is privilege of the wealthy, but a shared and inclusive capacity? Yeah.
Yes. If we think about the fears and threats we have, let's take climate change, drought, floods, or forest fires. They don't recognize which kind of people are hurted, not at all. The same fits with hybrid attacks. So I do not see that the threat is somehow selective. We are all objectives in that. And that's not only dealing with individuals, but all the countries, societies too. And I think this is a lesson we should repeat again and again in Europe, that there are no borders of threat nowadays. So I do not necessarily see difference in the amount of threat, but surely how resilient people are, that might change. Some of us have easier to get prepared economically, and some of us don't. And that's why we have to have this kind of whole of society approach, which means that also those people who are not capable of taking care as much of themselves as others, they will be noticed. And that is why we have a social democratic system.
Thank you. Can I ask one more question, if you allow? Mr. President of Lithuania, Gitanas Nausėda, also talked about the importance of fighting with malicious actors during the hybrid threats, and you also mentioned it a lot in your report. So my question would be that you argue in your report that Europe must protect its open societies to fight with malicious actors, and we all know who we are talking about in this sense, without undermining democratic values. And you also mentioned in your speech that it's very hard to maintain values in the context of hybrid threats and constant threats. So how do, as a society, as a democratic society, ensure that the push for stronger security and preparedness doesn't gradually erode the freedoms and the pluralism that define our European identity?
This is a real dilemma of liberal democracies. I mean, what we have created, quite rightly, is for individuals a large space to react, to move, and it is very well protected, individual rights. But what we have seen is that those rights are misused by malicious people. It's easy in this freedom, open space which is protected. It's easier to maneuver also for those who have malicious minds. And this is a real dilemma. When we are facing the hybrid world, I referred already to the Finnish example which you share in the borderline. Yes, still it was people accepted Finnish government's decision to close the border because it was important for common security. But many, especially juridical people, claimed that, well, this is doing wrong. You're hurting the basic rights of human beings. Like I said, I do not doubt at all that in Kremlin they will think all the possible means to put some of our governments here in Europe to a position where you have to restrict the life of your own citizens, and hoping that that will raise confusion, and it easily does. So how to solve this dilemma? I think that, and I have tried to say it also in Finland, that we should start discussing what kind of a right is common security, and how you weigh it with individual rights. When you pose individual rights over common security, and when the other way around. In pandemic, we saw many governments, European governments, making quite tough restrictions to their citizens' life. And that was criticized, but at the end also understood and accepted. So I think that the more we discuss before we are on the situation, that helps also to find right answers. But yes, I feel that this dilemma will follow us with the hybrid developments, and not even to mention what kind of means artificial intelligence and quantum technology give to a malicious mind.
And I would like to follow up with a question to the Vice Minister. President Niinistö mentioned that it is very much important that everyone is a defender. So what is your take on that? How do we achieve that everyone is a defender in Lithuania, especially when we think about young people and the mindset? So what would be your take on that?
So thank you for question, and thank you very much, Your Excellencies, President Nausėda, and Your Excellency, for the really insightful keynote speeches, which is actually breathing with the work I am doing in the National Ministry of National Defense. So answering to your question, I would say that it was a good remark that the defense is not just a matter of the Minister of Defense or the militaries. So it's a matter of whole country and whole region at the same time, and the whole NATO or European Union. So when we talk about a citizen, so we had the obligation of each citizen in our constitution to defend the country. So our defense is a total and unconditional. So that's mean that each citizen has a right and role in the country defense. You know, in one hand, this is a military part, but what is the most crucial, what the President Niinistö is mentioning, that a whole government and whole society has to be integral part of the state defense. So in this regard, I would say that we in Lithuania, probably among the youngsters, we have a better understanding, better comprehension than young people in the Spain or South. So in this regard, it was mentioned, you know, very detailed, the scope of the threats we are actually facing constantly in our region. There is also the historical experience our nations have. And in this understanding, there is probably a little bit not easier, but is more for the most of the society is more understandable why we're doing it and why we need this. And I think that this is one aspect. The second aspect is what country is doing just to build this. And in this regard, I think that the priority which set by the president on the defense as a such, as the highest priority, what was mentioned that probably the foundation of all the welfare of the state is based on the security of the state. All the investments, secure environment, economical gain, and prosperity of our country is depend on the security. So that's why we have to take very serious in this. And I think that in our political priorities, not just allocating the finances for the hard defense, but what was mentioned that 1.5% to other sectors, to be the more resilient, more integrated, and more prepared is vital, especially right now. So this is an approach where we have to, you know, integrate municipalities and NGOs, private subjects, and this is very important. And Lithuania is taking the best examples, and the best example is Finland. The total defense, comprehensive defense, is what actually they have long decades of experience. So, and from my personal view, my first visit was into Finland, just to talk with my counterparts, to visit and to see how the system is, or how the reserve system is organized, how the civil preparedness and civil defense is organized. So all those lessons is very much required right now in our region. So taking an example, Lithuania is also moving towards the total defense. And 2 years ago, President approved the state defense plan, which is actually was one of the conceptual document, was mainly designed to connect all those institutional, organizational, and individual efforts. And what you, President, mentioning about this private and public partnership, I you know, fully agree that this is the most important, and this is not so easy to achieve. And it is hard to actually to develop this. So in this regard, just a couple of things to mention that I think that everything is also circling around the trust. The trust is not just, how we are resilient and ready, but trust of the society, young, old, it doesn't matter the age, but trust of the country, on the trust of the government, trust of the government institutions, trust that the government is doing right, trust that, someone will take care if situation will erupt. So I think that the trust very much shaping our societal will to defend our country. And this is the second big aspect, defensive mindset. And I think that the best defensive mindset we have in Finland, the best defensive mindset we have in Israel. So those countries who are actually constantly facing and had long-term experience, and I think that the defensive mindset in Lithuania is also firm. And I think that we're moving to this very comprehensive understanding of it.
Thank you indeed for such encouraging words. And actually, perhaps what we're doing in our European alliances is also very much important, because that actually gives this opportunity for networking and sharing the mindset, or sharing the comprehension that you mentioned, that perhaps in our regions is a bit different from what could be further from us. Maka, back to you with your questions.
Yeah, of course. Mr. Vice Minister, you just mentioned what I have a question on about the total defense, the understanding of total defense in Lithuania, examples of Finland, Israel. Me, I'm personally from Georgia, so this is something very familiar to me as well. But however, speaking with my, the same age, people with the same age, many young Europeans view national defense actually distant from the daily life. These are people who never experienced, who were born after war. How can Lithuania make total defense a civic activity? I know the brilliant example of Riflemen Union, which we have in Lithuania, but more activities, of course, are needed, as you mentioned already, Mr. Vice Minister. So how can Lithuania make total defense a civic activity that genuinely engages and commits young people, moving beyond just seeking their support? And in this term, I mean that with the rising hybrid threats from Russia, this is something that must be discussed on the daily basis, right, to be prepared.
Yeah, as I mentioned, probably those keywords was the trust, will, and the mindset. But how we can involve and how we can approach to the better result. From working in this field also for already like more than a decade, I would say that the education is a key. Education and communication with the society is a key. When we talk about education, we talk about the long-lasting effects on our children and the schools. So those are the system what we have to develop. What kind of those patriotic, democratic values we are putting into the heads of our kids. Through there's history learning, through the very basic subjects what they get, but at the same time also giving some understanding, on resilience, giving some competences, which is right now especially is relevant, talking about the disinformation field, talking about the cyber threats, talking about the psychological resilience. Those are the areas which has to be the elements in the educational cycle. And I think that we, Lithuania, approach to it very seriously. This year, the last school year, we already did in all the schools for the 9 grades our defensive and patriotic education. It was like 3 days, but nevertheless, it was more or less just giving the sense on those competences what I have mentioned before. So, and this is not the end. I think that we also should think that the technologies which are changing the battlefield in today's the investment into the schools where the kids are actually getting the technological knowledge, science, creativity, constructing, we had a good examples on developing some for informal education, the drone centers, where kids from the 3rd to 12th grades can come and just to dive into this technological future by constructing them, designing them, exploring them with a dual use purpose, with the engineering mindset. And I think in the future we will have more young people who are actually joining those universities with this engineering thinking, and they will build, incredible things. And I think that what we see in Ukraine right now, that this is a combination of, whole society effort. And this is not just a military building something, but it's also the business building something, but it's also academia, science, and the same kids, they are building and contributing to this. So I think that one big aspect on the education is, what we are actually setting in the minds of our youngsters, and actually, giving those patriotic feelings, and this will bring the trust, what we're expecting, and the will, what we're expecting, and the mindset, what we're expecting. And the second one, I would say that in this geopolitical context, in this threat environment, what we have to think is, how we can, fill those gaps of those individual and societal preparation. And the civil preparation is one of the priorities right now in Lithuania, giving all those required competencies to each individual. I think that every one of us has to know how to provide the first medical aid to your friend, to your family, to your neighbor, if it will require it. Just to understand how the state is run during the crisis, to give the sense, how to prepare for it. And I liked very much what you, Mr. President, mentioned on your quote that we actually look and show the responsibility for the future. And this is a keywords actually, and very important keywords, that this is not just to feel afraid of something, but is actually to be comfortable in looking into the future. And I think that we had many programs right now where we're giving the education for our society from ministerial, political level down to the communities level, and this is giving all those preparatory elements which is required for our citizens. And this should be as a system in the state which actually provide this kind of education. And lastly, I think that which was mentioned many times is a military readiness and the civil preparedness. When we talk about the military readiness, we should think that this is not just about buying military capabilities, tanks, air drones, air defense means, or other assets, but is also integrating the society in this military preparedness, reserve system, conscription service, professional army. Everything is actually a combination of human resources, which will be crucial for the state defense. Yes.
Thank you so much. Can I ask one more question? Yeah. Mr. Vice Minister, I want to touch the issue of migration from the national defense perspective. We all realize that, especially in recent decade, that migration is a powerful force that can very easily and quickly deepen social divisions. How can Lithuania's defense and communication strategies help to ensure that migration issues do not undermine social trust? And you both talked about trust a lot, which is the foundation of national stability.
Yeah, probably when we talk about the migration, this is not a very close topic of the Minister of Defense, but anyway, this is one of the activities which is very much testing our resilience, and very much is one of the scope from the various of the activities which was mentioned in this palette of hybrid activities what Russia is doing in our neighborhood and in our region. So I think that using migration, artificial migration as a tool, just to in one hand, just to use this human resource or the human from the weak countries, just to raise the dilemmas, not just the humanitarian dilemmas, but also to raise dilemmas on the political side, on the diplomatical side, on the and even on the European Union side. But what Lithuania is taking from it, I think that we took our lessons. First, we did those priority work what we had to do. So we actually built required cooperation among the institutions, state border militaries. We built some required protection, physical protection elements, from observation to fence and other things. And right now we see that this cooperation between the civil law enforcement forces and militaries is very important, and especially during the hybrid, how fast we can actually take the support from the militaries during the peacetime and to support this, for example, the migration crisis. And this is not just about migration. I think that this was recently what was mentioned also by the president on the air defense, airspace violation, on the drones, where actually the first defensive line is are those civil forces, which not always are, ready, equipped with the proper equipment. And this is required very fast integration and very fast reaction between those institutions. That's why we have to adopt our processes, legal aspects, how we're protecting our civilian critical infrastructure, our civilian airspace, and doing it fast enough during the peacetime, because those hybrid activities or the migration or other aspects, actually testing, how fast we can react, what the resources we can allocate, and in this preparedness, I think that it is very important, this kind of a synergy.
Thanks so much.
And I think that we are more or less about to round up the discussion. So I would like to give rounding up question to President Niinistö. Finland, as we have mentioned already many times, is given as an example of resilience and security. And also, very often, Finland is given as a good example in education. We learn from Finland a lot. So what do you think? What could be those best practices and best examples from Finland that Europe should be learning in terms of education, of the right mindset, as the Vice Minister repeated a lot of times, and that's something we really think that it's very much important. So what would be these good practices and good examples from Finland to the whole of Europe?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I have to admit that Finland is not a wonderland here. But we are, actually I start with mindset. I often refer to old Finnish wisdom, which dates back hundreds of years. And that is that the Cossack, that meant the Russian soldier, takes everything which is loose. And somehow this attitude, memory is in Finnish backbones. So don't leave anything loose. That is the advice. And I think that if I look back to Finnish history, I think that it has somehow been in minds of every government. Don't leave anything loose. What comes to education, yes, it is one of the most vital things if we want that we still live in the time of truth. And that seems to be more and more difficult because of social media, because of, let's say, even we in Finland find that our school system, education system is not fully working. There are youngsters who are outside, can't even read, or can't read that much that they could take a job. So we have also problems in that. But still, I have also a strong belief in sound mind. It's something I learned during my days as a Minister of Finance. I started to give a lot of value to Professor Schumpeter. He was an Austrian economic professor who said he created a slogan of creative chaos. That means that when things go bad enough, suddenly people, in a way, most of us understand that, well, we can't continue this way, we have to wake up. And I think it's valid not only for economics, but also for social life. And this is what I mean by sound mind, that it is possible to still dig out of people. And otherwise, there are a lot of young people here. I want to actually, connecting to this, what we see now is a kind of misty future. Truth, what is truth, what is not, what is a lie. That makes it a bit misty, and undoubtedly AI will mix it even more. But I went, when I thought about this, I went back in my life some 25 years ago, and if somebody had then said to me that, well, in 25 years there are technical equipments that many billion of people are being followed by their phones, somebody knows all the time where you are, or the massive change of information, I would have said, no, I don't want that kind of a world, and I just can't live in that. But we human beings, we learn, and I'm sure that you learn, you young people, in that misty future, find also some kind of organized, regulated in your mind how to make it further. I'm quite convinced about that, so I'm not that worried about.
Thank you very much. So we have our lesson. Let's keep our sound mind and not lose any, and not leave any loose ends, right? So thank you once again, and I would like everyone to give a round of applause to our young challenger, Maka Berulava. To the Vice Minister of National Defense of the Republic of Lithuania, Tomas Godliauskas. And of course, to our magnificent and outstanding keynote speaker today, President Sauli Niinistö.